Hey everyone! Welcome back to another long, quiet night of slow history. You can dim the lights, maybe grab a blanket, and pretend the world outside doesn't exist for a bit. Tonight, we're gliding through time to moments when history, for whatever reason, decided to step directly in front of a camera. Moments that weren't meant to be preserved, but somehow were. The kind of footage where everyone still looks confident, important, alive, and completely unaware that history is about to tap them on the shoulder and say, "You're done." So relax, breathe in, because tonight we're watching the world change, frame by frame. This is 10 historical events that were caught on camera. Event 1. The Romanovs. The last smile of an empire. Let's start in Russia. Year 1913. The Romanov family, Tsar Nicholas II, his wife Alexandra, and their 5 photogenic children, are celebrating 300 years of their dynasty. Everything looks serene. There's a parade, horses, uniforms, ribbons, crowds cheering like history itself is a family friend who dropped by for tea. Nicholas waves. He smiles that calm, distant royal smile, the kind of smile you give when you truly believe God hired you personally to rule Russia. The footage is soft, shaky, like an old dream. But it's oddly haunting, because we know what they didn't. Just 5 years later, those same faces would appear in a basement in Yekaterinburg, only this time, not smiling. Nicholas looks straight into the camera once, as if acknowledging whoever's holding it. He even adjusts his hat, like he's posing for the future, which, ironically, he was. That 1913 footage became the Romanovs' final portrait, the last sunny glimpse of a family that had ruled a sixth of the planet. And now, thanks to some grainy film, they'll never really disappear. It's strange watching it now. They're so normal. You almost forget the Tsar's political incompetence, the Rasputin drama, the revolutions brewing right outside their perfect little world. But that's what cameras do. They freeze arrogance, elegance, and naivete in one single frame. Let's drift from Russia's gilded halls to a much colder place. A ship, a legend, and one very confident captain.
Event 2. The Titanic, when a ship filmed its own eulogy. April 1912. Southampton, England. A shiny new monster of metal called RMS Titanic waits in the harbor, proudly reflecting the morning light. The press is buzzing, the rich are boarding, and the cameras are rolling. In the footage, passengers wave to the crowd below. Women in extravagant hats, men in coats that cost more than most people's houses. Everyone smiling, as if they're starring in the opening credits of a romantic drama, not a maritime tragedy. We see Captain Edward Smith, the old, calm sea veteran, standing on the bridge. He has that calm, "I've got this" face. Of course he did. The ship was unsinkable, after all. Because when humanity builds something that huge and expensive, we always like to test fate immediately. There's also film of the ship's departure, the gangway lowering, the tugboats pulling, the crowds cheering. And that's it. The last time anyone ever saw the Titanic afloat in daylight. It's eerie to think the cameras kept rolling as if to say goodbye. The footage itself feels innocent, ordinary, until you remember what's coming. Freezing water, lifeboats half empty, and a haunting orchestra that, if it had known, probably wouldn't have chosen to play "Nearer, My God, to Thee." So when you watch that footage now, you're not just seeing a ship. You're seeing human confidence in its purest, most delusional form, captured forever, just before it hit an iceberg the size of Karma. Let's float onward, not down to the ocean floor, don't worry, but to a train station in Vienna, where another camera caught something equally surreal, the beginning of a war wrapped in a parade. Event 3, the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, the spark of a world war. June 28, 1914, Sarajevo. The sun is out, the flags are waving, and Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, is doing what royals do best, sitting in an open car, pretending to enjoy the crowds. Somewhere along the route, a few early cameras are rolling, mostly journalists capturing the pomp and ceremony. No one expects anything more exciting than a stiff royal smile.
What the cameras didn't fully capture that day, but the images from moments before and after make painfully clear, is that within hours, this parade would end in gunfire. The footage shows the Archduke with his wife, Sophie. They look polite, slightly bored, as all royals seem to in public. But that morning, they both end up dead, and within weeks, Europe descends into the First World War. It's one of the strangest contrasts in recorded history. Film of the Archduke waving to crowds, followed by the explosion of an empire. All because one nervous young man with a gun decided to make history, and somehow succeeded. No one filming that day knew they were capturing the moment before everything changed. The end of an era, the start of millions of deaths, all prefaced by one elegant wave. It's unsettling how quiet the footage feels, the calm before the chaos, the unknowing stillness of people who think tomorrow will look exactly like today. Let's drift forward just a few decades to another leader who loved the camera a bit too much, a man who turned film into propaganda and propaganda into religion. Emmett 4H, Adolf Hitler's early rallies, the birth of a cult on film. Germany, early 1930s. Before the war, before the destruction, there was just a man shouting in beer halls and open-air rallies, trying to look important. And of course, someone was filming it. The early footage of Hitler is oddly awkward. He gestures too much. He looks like a man trying to convince both the crowd and himself that he's destined for greatness. There's no music, no editing, just his strange energy, already magnetic and unsettling. Later, of course, the propaganda films would refine him. Dramatic lighting, slow-motion salutes, entire armies choreographed like a fever dream. But the first recordings show something else entirely, the birth of a myth. A man using a camera not just to capture his rise, but to manufacture it. And the world bought it, because the lens, once again, does what it always does. It flatters ego and hides madness. Those early clips, shown in classrooms and cinemas, helped turn a fringe politician into a national savior. Now we watch them in documentaries, with the sound turned low. And we wonder how something that looked so ridiculous could become so deadly. But that's the curse of the camera. It immortalizes the moment, not the lesson. Let's take a gentler turn, away from dictators and death, and head to the skies, where another camera captured something humanity had only dreamed of: flight.
Event 5. The Wright brothers take off. Humanity's first, oops, it actually worked moment. December 17th, 1903. Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. It's windy, cold, and honestly pretty uneventful, unless you count the two brothers trying to launch a wooden glider with a lawnmower engine. A camera is set up, one of those old boxy contraptions that probably weighed more than the plane itself. And then, there it is, a shaky, grainy clip of the Wright Flyer lifting off the sand for just 12 seconds. That's it. 12 seconds that changed everything. Humanity left the ground and immediately started planning ways to drop bombs from above, because of course we did. The funny part? The footage looks so fragile, so innocent, you can almost miss the importance. Orville and Wilbur don't cheer, don't pose, they just go back to tinkering. Because for them, it wasn't about changing the world. It was about making a machine stay up just long enough to prove a point. The clip feels peaceful, even now. A rare kind of human progress that wasn't born out of ego or empire, just curiosity. And that's why it still feels timeless. Let's drift from the calm skies back down to the chaos of Earth, to a city where the ground itself decided to move and the cameras kept rolling anyway. Event 6, the 1906 San Francisco earthquake, the day the city died on film. April 18th, 1906. Someone's filming Market Street in San Francisco from a streetcar. It's a bright day. Horses, people, trams, hats, lots of hats. Everyone's moving with that early 20th century energy, like time itself is new. 3 days later, that same street was gone, flattened, burned. The earthquake and fires destroyed nearly 80% of the city. But the footage survived. By sheer luck, the film reel had been shipped to New York before the quake hit. So what we have now is one of the eeriest before videos in history. It's beautiful in a sad way, the calm before oblivion. You can see children running beside the tram, a policeman directing traffic, even a stray dog wandering across the street. None of them could imagine that within 72 hours, everything they knew would literally crumble. Watching it today feels like standing at the edge of time. Every smiling face, every casual walk, every glimpse of daily life, all ghosts now. The city lived, died, and was reborn. But that footage, it's still there, rolling endlessly, showing a world seconds before silence.
All right, breathe in. History's projector is still spinning. We're now in the middle of the 20th century, a time when film became cheaper, lighter, and much more eager to capture human mistakes in high definition. The irony? The more advanced the cameras got, the less prepared humanity seemed to behave in front of them. Event 7, the Hindenburg disaster, when pride went up in flames. May 6, 1937, Lakehurst, New Jersey. A massive German airship called LZ-129 Hindenburg is drifting in for landing after a long transatlantic flight. It's huge, nearly the size of the Titanic, but airborne. Reporters are waiting, cameras are rolling, and a radio broadcaster named Herbert Morrison is preparing to narrate what should have been a routine docking. And then, the hydrogen remembers it's flammable. Within seconds, the entire airship bursts into a rolling ball of fire. The camera catches it all, the slow descent, the sudden ignition, the black smoke curling upward like history signing its own obituary. It's disturbing and mesmerizing at the same time. You can almost hear humanity collectively deciding, yeah, maybe we don't fill giant balloons with explosive gas anymore. The footage became iconic, the first real-time disaster broadcast across the world. And, in a grimly poetic twist, it marked the literal and figurative end of the age of airships. Because nothing says bad marketing quite like spontaneous combustion on film. Event 8. The Bomb That Ended the Sun, Hiroshima, 1945. Let's move just a few years forward. World War II is ending, or rather, about to end, violently. August 6, 1945. American bombers fly over Hiroshima. A few of them carry cameras, because of course they do, to record the effectiveness of the mission. The result? Footage of the first atomic bomb used on humans. There's no screaming, no chaos visible,
just a bright flash and a mushroom cloud rising like a terrible sunrise. It's eerily beautiful, which feels wrong to say. The camera is calm, indifferent, mechanical, as if it doesn't care that 70,000 people just ceased to exist. Historians still argue about whether the footage should even be shown because it turns horror into spectacle. But maybe that's the point. War had always been about flags and speeches, until that moment, when it became just light and shadow. The camera didn't lie. It didn't cry either. It just watched. And ever since that day, we've lived in a world that's constantly filming itself, just in case it ends again. Let's drift somewhere a little quieter. Not safer, but smaller. A single street, a lone man, and one of the most famous frames of resistance in modern history. Event 9. The Tank Man, Beijing, 1989. June 5, 1989, Beijing, China. Tiananmen Square is still echoing from days of protests and military crackdowns. And then, silence. A lone man walks into the middle of the road and stands in front of a line of tanks. He's holding 2 shopping bags, because apparently, revolution fits neatly between errands.
The cameras were there. Journalists, TV crews, foreign photographers. They caught him just standing there, motionless, blocking the tanks like it's the most normal thing in the world. The lead tank stops. He steps sideways. The tank moves. He steps again. It's an awkward little dance of defiance, and somehow one of the most powerful images ever recorded. No one knows for sure who he was, or what happened to him afterward. The Chinese government made sure of that. But the footage survived, copied, smuggled, spread worldwide. Proof that sometimes history isn't made by kings or wars, but by one guy saying no a few times in a row. It's almost cinematic in its stillness, a moving picture of immovable courage. And of course, he never even raised his voice. TV Event 10. The Fall of the Berlin Wall. When history finally smiled. Let's end on something lighter, or at least less tragic. Berlin, November 9th, 1989. The wall that divided East and West Germany for nearly 3 decades is about to crumble, literally. The air is electric, and for once in this list, it's a good kind of chaos. Cameras are everywhere. People are climbing the wall, laughing, hugging strangers. Someone hands someone else a hammer and starts chipping away at the concrete, piece by piece. The footage feels almost unreal, like watching the end of a very long, very depressing movie.
You can see people crying as they cross over, seeing relatives they hadn't touched in years. And for once, no one's running from something, they're running toward each other. The most poetic part? The East German guards, confused and overwhelmed, just let it happen. They had guns, orders, authority, and absolutely zero willpower left to stop history. The camera pans across a sea of faces lit by TV lights, fireworks, and disbelief. You can almost feel the cold air, the tears, the relief. It's one of those rare pieces of film where humanity, for once, didn't mess it up. Moon, epilogue, history through the lens. So there you have it, 10 moments when time itself accidentally sat for a portrait. From empires fading in sepia tones to walls falling in color, the camera has quietly been there for it all, unblinking, judgmental, and slightly nosy. The weird part? Every single person in those frames thought they were just living their day. They didn't know they were about to become symbols, lessons, or tragic metaphors on late-night YouTube channels. And that's the magic of it. History doesn't ask permission to be recorded. It just happens, awkwardly, beautifully, and sometimes on fire. So as you drift off tonight, maybe think about that. Somewhere, right now, someone is filming something ordinary. A train ride, a party, a quiet street. And 50 years from now, it might be the only thing left of an entire world. Sweet dreams, historians. Let's hope tomorrow's headlines don't make the highlight reel.